So there has been a lot of talk in the world of Gaelic football over the last few weeks about the controversial rule changes that have been tried out in the pre-season competitions and that may well end up being trialled in the National Football Leagues when they get underway in just under 10 days from now. Before that though, the GAA Central Council are going to meet this Saturday and decide whether or not they will trial them in the league. The standing committee who came up with the rules will have no say whatsoever on whether the trials of the rules go any further. Most of the rules have gone okay, but in particular the hand pass rule has come in for widespread condemnation. This rule restricts to 3 in succession before the ball must be kicked. To talk about this, we're joined by the Donegal manager Declan Bonner and the Carlow football manager Turlough O'Brien. They're both on the line. Thanks for joining us, guys.
No problem, Evan. Thank you.
Declan, you've had a chance then to watch these rules in action, and we might talk about the hand pass rule in particular because that's the one I think that's causing the most controversy. From what you've seen in the Dr. McKenna Cup and I guess from your training games as well, just how big a disaster is it?
Yeah, listen, it doesn't work. That's just it's basically penalising the team in possession, and watching it over the last. I had serious reservations before I actually saw it in action. And we played 4 matches now, and it's slowing the game down. There's a fluent move going, and all of a sudden it's penalised on the fourth hand pass. And the other thing about it too, the referees are finding it very, very difficult even to pick up on it. I spoke to a number of referees after some of these games, and they have a difficult enough job the way it is without having to monitor this, and they are missing it. There's frees blown on the second and third hand pass. There's other referees that sometimes it goes into the fourth hand pass. It's very difficult, and you can imagine when into the white heat of championship football, it would just be mayhem.
Turlough, what's your assessment of it?
Well, I've been at 7 games now under the new rules. We're involved in 3 or 7, so 4 other games. And, I can understand that they're concerned about the game of football and they want to take the right action. But I think the way they've gone about it, that really hasn't helped. And this particular rule of the 3 hand passes is really very, very restrictive. And it clearly isn't an improvement in the game. And I suppose that's what it's out to do, is to improve the game. And I don't think we can say at this stage that the proposed changes have improved the game in any form.
I guess part of the reason why people thought this would be an improvement is that we would see more kicking of the ball, that it promotes teams kicking the ball, kicking the football into the forward line. Have you seen that even, Turlough, that it has resulted in players taking a few more risks when they've the ball in hand rather than just taking the easy hand pass option, that they are going a bit more direct?
Certainly did have that impact. What we do see a lot of is a lot of very, very short kick passes, maybe 4 or 5 metres,
right?
Which is not a good thing to see in the game. And initially, when the rule came in and teams played under it, to start kicking ball long, but suddenly there's a lot more turnovers in the game, and teams are not going to give away the ball in National Football League games. They're going to hold possession, so it's actually going to reduce the kick forward. You're going to see them more kick passing backwards, and I've seen kick passes back 45-50 metres to goalkeepers, and the move starts again. And I don't think that's what the intention of the rule was, that would happen, and that unfortunately is, I suppose, a negative consequence of the rule. And it's completely contrary to the flow of the game to try and impose this rule on the game. I mean, creativity's been taken out of the game. It's being straitjacketed into a set of rules, and you must conform to the way of playing the game. We go back to catch and kick football. That was 40 years ago. The game has moved on. We're much better conditioned. I think the skill levels are much higher. Tackling teams are more aware. And the game has become very, very fascinating. Now, there's been a lot of controversy and criticism of the game in the last couple of years that it's become boring, and that there's been a lot of, I suppose, ball retention by teams in front and holding on possession of the ball. But that's a different issue than having to pose this rule that prevents a team attacking and from finishing a move maybe that could end up with a score. There's other ways to address that. But unfortunately, I think, and this, I suppose, is the weakness in the system, is that no coaches or managers were consulted prior to deciding on what rules are going to be tried. And I think that's a big issue, because the people who are working with the game, they have the best interest of the game at heart. I hear a lot of comments at the moment that managers have vested interest. I mean, what's a vested interest in the game? That you're involved in the game, that you love the game, that you want to progress the game, you want your team to win, you want your county to perform. This this idea that the manager shouldn't have any input into this is wrong, or coach shouldn't have any input into it. We had the national coaching conference last weekend, and I suppose the highlight of the weekend would have been Derek McGrath's speech to the coaching conference. And every year, coaching conference, you'll have a top manager there. He'll give a great, great talk to people. And yet, when we come to look at the game itself, we don't consult. I think that's the weakness that I think needs to be addressed.
But did they not consult Turlough? Because you mentioned the Games Development Conference, and I don't know if you got to the talk by the head of the Playing Rules Committee, David Hassan, along with Rob Carroll, who's a performance analyst, and they've put a huge amount of work and sought a huge amount of information into coming up with these recommendations. And they also wrote to every inter-county manager last October seeking their thoughts and suggestions, and they only got 12 responses. So by the sounds of that, they did go looking for suggestions, for your advice, but it wasn't coming back from the managers.
There was communication, and there was a response.
Did you respond?
I did indeed, yeah. The service sent out that's inadequate. I think we should have been involved at the very beginning of it. I think the direction was already set. People had decided there's a problem with the game, and that's the platform to start it from. And you can use statistics, to prove anything really. And I think, the point is that coaches and managers should be involved at the early stage in this. They're key players in this, and not to have a voice at that stage, I think leaves the agenda open to taking a different direction, and that's what's happened.
Declan, those queries when they came in October, and you were asked for your thoughts on it, did you respond?
Yeah, my thing was that I didn't see the need for change, to be quite honest. I've been strong on that from the word go, that a lot of it's down to maybe the coaching end of things. And I see a lot of the teams anyway, Turlough mentioned that the players nowadays are their condition, their skill levels are top, and he's 100% right. I mean, those guys live and train like professional athletes, and the game to me has been moving okay. There's no doubt about it. Ask any of the players. You hear talk out there, players are not enjoying inter-county football. They're taking a step back. That's total nonsense. I mean, I haven't seen that. I don't know about Turlough, but I've seen that any players that have been approached for inter-county football for Donegal have been there. And
well, I think it's that isn't the case for every county. We've heard John Maughan talking about that already over the last couple of months, that there are situations among teams that maybe aren't going to be challenging for All-Ireland titles where actually players are stepping away because of the commitments involved.
It's down to commitments involved, maybe, but it's not
the style of play.
It's not exactly. It's not the style of play. And you mentioned, on the hand pass, which we started out talking about, that what has happened over the last number of games that I've seen, the kick passes coming back in. You go over the third hand pass on the fourth play. There's a kick pass now gone about 5 meters or 10 meters, and it's just absolutely slowing the game down, taking the fluency out of the game, and I think that there's no future and it, to be quite honest. But and saying that, listen, I'm not against change. People out there think I'm against change, and if there's a change to be made, let's sit down, let's consult all the stakeholders and the GA that's involved there, and have a look at the way forward. But I think some of these rules were just they came in and they weren't really thought out, to be quite honest.
I just want to play a clip of Brian Cuthbert from OTBAM, because he was part of the Standing Committee on Playing Rules, and he gave his thoughts on the type of conversations that were going on into coming up with these new rules.
I suppose I read at the very start that people were claiming that the actual methodology was almost too academic, and I would imagine that was maybe a slight at the committee chair and the fact he's a professor. But I have never been involved in something that was so robust and so well thought out. And very quickly, it went from discussion and video analysis to engaging county boards, engaging the head of the referees authorities, engaging players through the GPA, engaging managers. All managers were written to, only 12 responded. Then I went into a period of trial games where these were videoed and recorded, and we came back and watched all them. Those who couldn't get to the games live, and the methodology behind the decision making process, I would say, would stand up anywhere. And I think that's the most crucial point. And I also would say that we had worked out that I think there was 162 games between the provincial games and the National League, and a trial like this needs that length of time to actually say this rule is good or this rule doesn't work. because with any rule changes, there are going to be unintended consequences, and you can't predict what they are going to be before you see them in action. So even in the trial games, there was, on the kick-out, there was a different rule put in place first. We watched trial games. I mean, it was fair to say that some of it was unworkable, and we said, okay, that needs to come out. And I suppose that process will still be on the table at the end of all this, I would imagine.
Yeah, by the sounds of that, Declan, and the methodology and the thought that's gone into this, but also the willingness maybe to change if there isn't a welcoming there from the actual players when it's happening. And the GPA have come out very strongly against the hand pass. We're talking to two experienced managers. Many more have come out against it again. Is your expectation, Declan, that when they do sit down, Central Council, that they will listen to your voices and that this won't be there, this won't be trialled out during the league?
Well, listening to that there from Brian, you said the players, everyone was involved. That's fair enough. But I mean, the players, 90% of the players come back through the GPA didn't want the hand pass rule. It's still, even on the feedback after, this was before it took place, and even now after, then the feedback I got back from the GPA yesterday was that there's still over 90% that say that the hand pass is just, it's no good for the game. It's having a negative impact, and it has to go. And that's the other ones we can talk around in terms of the kick out, in terms of the mark, in terms of the sin bin, and the sideline kick, but it's the hand pass one that's caused most of the issues.
Just before we get back to you, Turlough, just on the hand pass there and what you were talking about, and how it almost feels as though it punishes the attacking team more than the defensive team. And maybe this again is overcomplicating it when you talk about the difficulties the referees are having and even just keeping up and counting the amount of hand passes. Could you have it that it's only in one half of the pitch, this rule? That it's only in the defensive half, which would then prevent the sort of maybe running down the clock we see at the end of matches by teams in their own half? Yeah,
there's a possibility, and there could be an argument for that. But in terms of the way it is at the minute, it hasn't worked. There's no doubt about that. And there could be, whether it's inside your own 65-metre line or whatever, that there's no hand passes on back. Yeah, that could be looked at. But in terms of, as I said, the way it is at the minute, it's definitely penalising the team going forward, and there's nothing worse than the frustration you could hear among the supporters when you see a team moving forward and a fluent move, and all of a sudden referee has to blow the whistle. It's gone over the third hand pass, and it's just having a total negative impact on the game.
Turlough, you said you've seen 7 games, but it is still very early in the season. We're only in January. We haven't even started the league. Is there not part of this that maybe we should just try it out in the league in the real white heat of battle and see how teams respond tactically, and see how when we're into serious competitive stuff it actually does affect games, and maybe as players become more used to the situation we may actually see an improvement and some tactical innovation, and teams can find a way around this to use the hand pass to its advantage?
First off, I want to refute that the level of consultation was involved. The survey sent out to us, and we're asked to complete it. The rules were already proposed at that stage, so I don't believe that the consultation process was as robust as is claimed. So that's the first point I'd make.
So just on that then, so the consultation process, the letter that you received, or the discussion that happened, was it just about these 5 rules that were being implemented, that decision had already been made?
There was a survey sent out, and we were asked to respond to that, and then the rules came out. You cannot decide these things by sending out a survey to respond by email. That's not how you would address this issue. People need to get around the table, talk about this in a room together. It's very easy to send out 200 surveys to the people and get a response back and say, here's the results. That's not the way to do it. That's the first point. You're asking me, can the coaches modify that's the rules? I don't believe they can. Well, they will at that. But what will happen is that the game will become a poorer game, because teams will not give up possession. They're not going to kick the ball away. One of the outcomes has been, I suppose, that the forward mark, for instance, you can gain easy possession from a chest high catch inside the 45-metre line and out close to the sideline. So we heard in the past maybe a defender might have given a forward 5 yards towards the sideline and lifted him out there. Now we get a clean mark. So now the players are going to mark tighter, so they are. So now the contest is going to be more of a 50-50 contest, which maybe is what they want. But because of that, teams are not going to kick that ball in that situation. They're going to take the safe option. They're going to retain possession, and they're going to recycle the ball. And if it means going back to the goalkeeper, they will go back to the goalkeeper. That's what's going to happen. We don't want it to happen. I don't think the supporters want it to happen. I don't think the people who come up to rules want this to happen. But I think it's going to be the unintended consequence of what they put in. I've seen enough now. I've seen 7 games. I've seen a lot of things be thrown up in this. I've seen people blown for 1 hand pass, 2 hand passes. I've seen marks given that weren't marks. I've seen players claim marks that weren't marks. There's been a lot of things have happened that, if they were to happen in National League games, it would cause consternation, and that's the danger. That a decision like this, where someone is blown on a 3rd hand pass when it should be, it should have been allowed, and a free is given, there's a score off it, and it could cost you promotion or relegation. That's why we're so against it. Teams are putting so much work in prepare for national football. Like for 28 counties, the National League is the most important competition, and we're all fighting tooth and nail to get promoted or to avoid relegation and to improve our team by playing in our own division. But because someone has brought this rule in and it's not maybe implemented properly, or mistake is made, and your season could be destroyed by 1 or 2 of these situations arising. If the rule was improved in the game, I'd say fair enough. I don't see. I've said I've seen 7 games. I didn't see any improvement in any of the games that I saw, and I genuinely mean that. Now, I'm not just being critical of it. I think the response from the player survey has shown that too, that they're not in favour of it. It's not that we're against change. We want the game to be as good as it can possibly be. We all want to be involved in great games. But I wouldn't call it a wasted exercise at the same time. We have had these rules put into us now, and have they improved the game? I don't think they have. So I think we can eliminate most of them, and we can start afresh. We know what doesn't work now, and I think we can move on, and maybe a better consultation process might come up with better proposals that we could look at in the future.
Well, I do just wonder, from the committee's point of view, the standing committee on the playing rules, which is full of very experienced people. We heard Brian Cuthbert there, the likes of Pat Daly, Frank Murphy. Yeah. Like, in a way, their hands are tied. Maybe it's because of the calendar, whereby you're trying to trial some things and suddenly pre-season competitions take on an extra level of importance, and before we know it, we're a week away from the start of a league season, and it's become this huge issue. But even that, we are a week away from the start of a league season that for both Donegal and for Carlow is very important. How have you handled the last couple of months with these new rules, with in the back of your mind wondering, well, this is a very different game plan we're going to need with these new rules? Have you been training with these rules in mind, or have you been training on the assumption that some of these are going to fall away at the weekend?
Well, we've trained with the rules in mind. I know a lot of counties aren't using the new rules, but we certainly decided we couldn't afford to take the rules. And we've been training under the new rules. Not saying we're after them, because I don't think we have. And that's the approach we've had to take. Again, it's out of our hands. I think the referees are finding it difficult as well. I think they have a lot on their plate trying to manage the game as it is. And these are additional demands on them, and they want eyes in the back of their heads for the one at times. I think it's really, really putting too much pressure on referees. Publicly, referees are saying yes, they support it, but privately, it's a different message that they're giving to coaches and managers.
Declan, how have you approached it over the last few weeks?
Listen, we haven't really done a huge amount on it, to be quite honest. I felt from day one, especially the hand pass rule, it just wasn't workable, to be quite honest. We had to do a bit of work on some of the other stuff, but in terms of hand pass, it was just you had to bring it up and mention it at matches and stuff like that there. But it was just apart from ruining a football game, it actually ruined a training session. It's ruined, the ball's still coming back. It's still the same things you see during a football match. It's the same thing that happens at training. All of a sudden on the third pass, there's nothing on, the ball's been kicked back 10 metres or whatever else, and you go again, or it's kicked back to the keeper. And maybe that's one way of doing it. Maybe cut out penalise a pass back to the keeper, or penalise something back in your own half.
Yeah, but, just get rid of the back pass.
Yeah, exactly.
For starters,
I have a feeling that probably will. Some of these rules will probably come through for the National League, but we cannot undermine, and Turlough spoke strongly on the National League. It's a very, very important competition for all teams, and so I can't, without preempting, I can't see the hand pass making it into the National League. I hope not. And whatever to do with the rest, the sideline kick is another one that can have a negative impact. If you have to go forward all the time, because all of a sudden it's encouraging people back into your defensive zone to block out that area. So So,
well, almost Turlough, because there's been so much controversy around the hand pass. And listen, I said the GPA have come out overwhelmingly against it. Pretty much every manager seems to. There'll be an almighty storm if somehow the hand pass rule lasts into the National League, I'd imagine. But it has overshadowed some of the other changes, as you say, the sideline ball, that it must be kicked forward, and in particular the advanced mark, which just seems wide open for confusion and, again, more pressure on referees and can play into the hands of certain teams. And again, it feels as though that advanced mark would really slow the game down, with teams taking on a free every time basically they get inside the 45.
Yes, yeah, I've seen issues with that as well. I've seen a mark awarded where there was no mark. The ball was dropped and the referee to throw the ball up. I've seen a player claim a mark because the ball was kicked to him. He thought the player kicking was outside the 45, but he wasn't. The referee was correct, but he stopped his free against him. So these type of things are happening. I've seen marks given where the kick didn't go 20 metres, but it went over the 45 metre line. So there's a lot of ifs and buts about that as well. I think the player, the reward is too great, I think, for a simple catch, chest high catch, on the 45 on the sideline. I don't really see what rewarding there. It's just too. It's just an interruption to the flow of the game, and it's a free shot at goal to the person that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, Turlough, you're just breaking up there. Declan, before we let you go, then, your thoughts on those other couple of rule changes and whether they should stay for the league and give them a chance?
Listen, as I said, you're not against change if you see it for the better, but I mean, the kickouts, I don't have any real issue with. It's just moved out another 7 metres. The market, again, it's a difficult one for the referee. It does, to me, it slows the game down because if the ball's been kicked in, it's stopped now. So you either take your mark or you can play on. And it hasn't, as far as I can see, it has not encouraged any more kicking. To be quite honest, the sin bin's probably one that could go through, and I don't think there'd be any great issues with that. Probably maybe down to you're using an extra or a less sub now. I think it's 5 subs that you're using. So. But the rest of it, I cannot see. I mean, the sideline kicks not have no positives to come out of that there. And listen, they were trialled, and as I said, we've seen them at first hand, and the majority of them don't work. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and we shall find out on Saturday afternoon when Central Council meet. We'll bring you the results of that on Saturday afternoons off the ball. Declan Bonner, Turlough O'Brien, thanks a lot for joining us. Best of luck with the new season.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much.
All right, hopefully we'll get back to talking the football from next week at the head of the start of the Allianz Football League. Right now, though, we're going to take a quick break.